Okay, so I came to the very quick conclusion that my bike riding was fairly poor in that when you take your actual main riding test, they teach you how to ride to a certain level on the road, but they really don't teach you how to actually turn a bike, how to use a bike to the best of its ability and your own ability. And in fact, they don't really talk about, in fact they never talk about, rider positioning on the roads and certain hazards to look out for. Most of it's common sense, but a lot of it isn't. So I went on this course to find out where I was going wrong and where I can improve. And at the start of the course, you go around the cones, a bit like your Mod 2. So you start off going around the outside, getting a feel for the bike, braking, keeping it smooth. I must say, and this is the start of my many excuses, that this Ducati Scrambler was a bit jerky, and I only just bought it at the point this video was made a few months ago. So weaving in and out like you did for practice on the Mod 2, my main problem here was the main problem I suffered with in the test, in that I'm not putting enough revs on to keep the bike upright and keep it going, and I'm not looking round enough through to where I want to go, so looking right over my shoulder to do the reverse turn, and I wasn't leading the bike appropriately. I was quite rigid and expecting the bike, and I was steering the bike really, as you would a bicycle at low speed, when I've got to get a bit more lean into it to make the turn effective in that kind of short space. So I was going around and I thought I was doing okay. Well, actually, tell a lie. I knew I was doing crap, and it's horrible being watched. So I felt there was quite a bit of pressure, and the other bloke, older than me, bigger bike, he was slaughtering it. He was doing miles better. So I felt a bit under the cosh. And yeah, it wasn't great. So he came over to talk to me. It wasn't just me, but he comes over to talk to you anyway, to tell you where you're going wrong, where you might improve to have better control of the bike in slow speeds. Now, I'm sure it's the same with you. I found the hardest thing in Mod 2 was the U-turn. That and the going in and out of the cones. Fast speed stuff is all right. The actual road test with the examiner behind you, absolutely fine. I feel like I completely aced it. He didn't say much at the end of it. He just said, well done, you've passed. But the Mod 2, blimey, I didn't like that whatsoever. Because it really takes more bike control. I don't think you have to learn enough. I don't think you get enough experience or enough advice on it, actually. Enough to get you to pass. And somehow I did pass it. I didn't put my foot down on the U-turn. So this all really helps. In fact, as soon as you get a new bike, and if you're a new rider, don't just accept that you've passed. Go to an abandoned or quiet parking lot, particularly with parking spaces, and practice going in and out of them, up and down at tight turns, until you truly feel comfortable that you're in control of the motorbike. So yeah, this is a bit of an eye-opener. It was something I really needed. And as you can see, I'm kind of getting around it, not putting my foot down, but to the trained eye, you'd realise actually I've got no bike confidence at this moment. I got better towards the end with the instructor's points, but generally, even as I left this bit, as we're going on to the main ride, I still felt like I had not aced it, and I needed more time on the bike to get used to the clutch and the way it moved at low speeds and my body positioning. These are all things I still need to work on, and occasionally, yes, we all hop on a bike and go for a ride. We don't do this sort of stuff, and just when you want to do it or need to do it in your journey, it all goes a bit tits up because it's something you do not practice. So I'll leave you with that one. Right, now we're out on the road. At first, he stood road behind the two of us to monitor us, see where we're going wrong, see where our road positioning is. Then we had a short break, and then on a bit more, and he was telling us about road positions a bit more, saying keep to the left on the right-handers, keep to the right left-handers, you get maximum visibility. I mean, it kind of makes logical sense. In fact, when going around the left-hander, when he was in front, he showed us that he actually pulled out onto the right-hand side of the road, so he had an even better view. Of course, that only happens when you've got clear visibility and you see a car's not coming, but that opens up the road even more, so you don't have to stay to the actual road you're on in question. But positioning, as you'll find out a bit later, my positioning was actually wrong, and I wonder if you can spot why. The examiner will tell me, and he'll tell you what I did wrong here, and amongst most of my ride. Now, when I watched him, I felt it was either the left or the middle or the right. He was very far on the left. I'm not comfortable doing that. I haven't got the bike skill, and also in the UK there's gutters, potholes, drain covers and all sorts of shit. They have to worry you. So I was more focusing on where I feel I'd be the safest at any moment in time, which of course is kind of the best policy. However, there is best practice you need to follow. The other thing he was telling us about was how to overtake a vehicle. Now I thought, well, I know it all. You just go up behind it, accelerate a bit as you come out to the right of it and go. However, that's completely wrong to be perfect. What you do is you come up to the car, you slow your speed down, equalise the speed, so you're not too behind it, not too close to it, you're going at the same sort of speed. Then you come out to the right. You don't accelerate out, you come out to the right at the same speed of the car. Now only then, when you feel like you're going to make that manoeuvre safely past that car or cars, do you then proceed to pull on the gas and shoot forwards past them. Now, the other thing you've got to take into consideration that he told me, and you kind of don't think about this until you're told it, is it's all very well if you can overtake a vehicle, but bear in mind the vehicle that's further down the road. Are you going to be going too fast? We have to put your brakes on, spooking that car behind you. Are you in fact going to go to the back of that car? Have you thought about that you can safely get into the space in front of the car you're overtaking? That's especially true if you're overtaking 2 or 3 cars in one burst of speed. So that and the road positioning I found incredibly helpful, and in fact, no word of a lie, didn't tell the instructor this when I phoned him up a few days later, but the next day I did that in somewhere in Guildford going up a hill, which is always dodgy, an uphill left-hander, and I pulled out on a view to accelerate, and just as I did that, a car came out of a junction, which I hadn't spotted, but I had spotted it because I came in. If I'd accelerated as normal, not saying I might have hit it, but I'd have had to do an emergency manoeuvre, spooking out the drivers. So immediately I realised the benefit of that bit of advice. So that's something I'd mention to you lot who haven't been in advanced schools. You come out, then you go for the gas. You don't go for the gas overtaking the car. I know it's very tempting, even when you feel like you've got superb visibility, like you're going down a hill, it looks completely clear. Get into that routine and it will serve you well. Other things are pretty obvious, which the instructor would have told you when you took your test. Don't be too close to the back of a car. You never know what's going to happen. And the other thing is, look out for road signs, bushes, trees, to get an idea of where the road is going. Often you can tell what's going to be happening. The obvious ones, when you've got road signs that says there's a junction up front. What that means is be prepared to slow down. In fact, slow down, because you might have to emergency stop. The car in front of you might suddenly decide, without indicating, it needs to make that turn. Or as you're going past, a car might be coming out who you didn't see because it's such a sharp turn with bushes at the side of it. So it's kind of, you kind of know this stuff, but to have it reinforced into you is always a good idea. So I'm just going along my way here, just kind of paying particular attention to how I'm riding, looking out for the signs and making sure I slow down as soon as I reach the speed limits. That's not easy, not when you're not used to it. This is one of the cases where he takes the front. Either that because we're just about to turn off and he needs to lead the way. Although he has got an intercom system, you're always speaking to the instructor at every moment. You can't talk to him, he can talk to you, but you can do hand signals to let him know that you've heard him. Or was it two-way? For the life of me, I can't actually remember. No, I'm pretty sure he's the only one who could talk, which is fair enough. That's the only thing you really need. You don't want to be bombarding him with stupid questions at the heat of a moment. The other thing I was talking about is this infinity point. As you're going up to a bend, if the bend seems to be closing in, slow down. If the bend seems to be widening out, you can speed up. Until that point, you're not sure. Keep the speed constant. So that's quite an interesting one. That probably requires diagrams, but I won't go into it. But what I've just said makes sense, then hopefully you'll learn a bit from that. I must admit, that's not something I ever really think about when I'm riding. I'll usually just learn my speed. thinking that if there was a car around that bend, stationary, maybe because it's run a kid over, have I got enough time to break down to 0 to avoid that accident? So if you have that thought always as your premier thought, then the vanishing point of going around a bend is a little bit more secondary, although both together would make you a perfect cyclist at going around bends. I'm happy just to concentrate on the first one. The second one will come with more practice. So where was I going wrong? As you'll see when he comes up to it, you'll see that it did go a little bit wrong. The course is also useful because you'll give him some wonderful tips on just basically how to ride a motorbike. You know, 1-2 fingered techniques, i.e. your reactions are quicker on a brake with 2 fingers than they are with a full hand, trying to rake the full hand over it. Same with the clutch. Also saying the kind of percentage weights you should be doing at any given moment on your back as opposed to your front brake. Your front brake always takes precedent. But it was interesting hearing again, because don't forget, once you've had a test, you don't really get this sort of instruction. You kind of get into these habits and you forget about a lot of the basics, which can help you have a more balanced motorcycle, especially when coming to a stop. So I found that particularly interesting. One of the most incredible things of all that he explained was that you can get to your destination as fast as most other people just riding to the speed limit, as long as you appropriately accelerate and make use of the traffic. Which didn't sound logical until he kind of showed me that he just accelerates up between the speed limits and he's maintaining those speeds and going past vehicles at the limit. And suddenly you realise actually speeding about doesn't really get you much anywhere much faster, and it's just far more dangerous. That made a lot of sense.
Good, we're just going to do a swap over. We'll do a proper full debrief when we stop off at a cafe. But any burning questions for me or anything that come up for you on that ride? May not be anything.
No, I think if I'd been by myself, I'd have opened taken that car really sharpish. So knowing the roads that night, so I would have taken it rather sharpish to enjoy the road more. But I stood behind it. Also, I didn't know the road, and there was 2 bikes in front. I wasn't comfortable overtaking the car, but maybe having to slam the brakes on because they didn't see me because I was behind the car. So I thought actually I wasn't going to overtake that car until I felt it's completely safe to do so.
We'll talk about that when we cover overtaking. There's a way of dealing with that problem.
Yeah, if I had to overtake all the 2 bikes in the car, I would have gone indicator on well to the right. I wouldn't have put the horn on. Sometimes you put the horn on, you spook people. Yeah. So I've just kept to the right hand side, just kept my eye on them and accelerated quite briskly to get past the danger as quickly as possible in a safe way. But
no, that's cool. That's good. The only thing, the one thing I do want you to change is when you're positioning. We'll talk more about positioning.
Yeah.
But you're right out by the centre line a lot of the time. Now sometimes that's a great place to be, but you're out there with oncoming traffic. You're literally, they're almost brushing your handlebars. So just one point, I do
just come in a little bit from a
come in a lot.
All right.
So if you imagine that the lane in front of you is split into 5, I'll talk a bit more about this later. At the moment, you're on position 5. Number 1's next to the gutter.
Curb, yeah.
Number 5 is next to the centre line. You're on position 5 with traffic coming past you. Where I want you is position 3.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So
just right of centre.
No, plumb in the centre, mate.
Oh, plumb in the centre. Sorry, yeah. Let's say 5.
And maybe even more. If there's a big HGV, I'll be even further over. What you want to think about is a safety bubble around yourself all the time. So
yeah, maximising it. Okay, yeah.
You don't want anything coming in that bubble. So if this is the centre line and you're here, you've got no safety bubble. But if you're here, if they do reach down to grab something and whatever, you've actually got a bit of a safety bubble. That's the only thing I need to change on that. Good.
So as you heard, he makes some very good points, and without being told once, twice, or even 3 times, you don't really get into your head. So that's fantastic advice from the instructor. He was superb on the day, very friendly. He's not at all condescending. He's not giving it the big I am. He just wants to help you ride in a safer manner. And it was really a thoroughly enjoyable experience. And as the day went on, my confidence level went higher and higher and higher. And after that particular speech, my road positioning got a lot better. He says, watching this video for the first time, talking over it, but you can see down much more appropriately in the centre of the road, far away from danger on the left and the right. And I was keeping my distance way back from the biker in front. So I'm not sure right now if this instructor in front of me or the other chap. But we were riding in threes, and the instructor was mixing about either at the back, in the middle, or in the front, depending on who he wanted to watch, to look out for improvements and things that were still going wrong. But here's a bit of a trick, getting used to the right speed at the speed limit. It's so tempting with these modern bikes just to have a little bit of fun. One of the techniques he employed was he'd been third gear in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, fourth gear for 40, and fifth gear for a 50-mile-an-hour zone. Now that sounds super easy to do. And the thing of it is, he knows that bike so well, as we should know our bikes, that he doesn't have to look and think what gear he's in. And he also knows what speed limit is by what gear he's in. It works both ways. So he knows by the revs exactly what's going on, and he just maintains that positioning. So that was pretty interesting stuff. I mean, I haven't started thinking about that. Well, okay, once or twice I think about what he said, but this is now, what, 3 months ago? So the big question is, I hear you asking? Okay, so it was a few months ago. What have I taken on board now? What am I still using? What am I still doing? Okay, so am I God's gift to positioning? No. I still get a bit lax, especially when I'm doing reviews, because I'm not concentrating as hard. When I'm by myself, I go out in two modes. One is to take it easy and just concentrate on my better roadcraft. Don't do that a lot, to be honest. And the other one is I'm just going out for a real blast. And I must admit, that's where I'm weak, and that's where I need to have the regimen and consistency to think about what I was told and put it into practice. You can still drive at a faster speed. He was not saying don't ever speed, we all do it. It's, appropriateness and having the skill set to deal with a situation when it comes up. So I still feel I'm not quite there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go on another course early next year as a kind of top up. And I think an annual top up is a very good idea. If not, once every few months, or even 3 times during the summer, focusing on different points. It'd be tremendously helpful to me, because it's not yet in my mentality to take this on board on all my rides. And I think if I get to that point, I'll be a much safer rider. My missus and my friends and my co-presenters on the show will be happier, because I'm much less likely to have an off. So hopefully just watching this video you kind of get a real feel for the kind of things that is going to happen in an advanced course, and the kind of things you think about right now that they do not teach you on the normal test. So, well, I think I'll leave you there. My mouth's getting dry, need some red wine. So ride safe out there.